Mr. Chu here. Let's talk about success. In the first week of January, I challenged people to use this year of 2024, all 52 weeks, to have 52 steps into being successful. So I have been publishing a different video each week based on Napoleon Hill's two books, Think and Grow Rich and A Year of Growing Rich. I refer most often to A Year of Growing Rich. In week one, you can see we said that you need to determine your goals. So when we say determine them, not only do you come up with your goals, and we're talking about long term and short term, we also want you to write them down, commit them to memory. It's important that they become part of you so that you will do everything in your power to implement all the steps necessary for you to achieve those goals. The next week, week two, we talked about making sure that you don't let any negative outside interference keep you from achieving your goals. So, what does that mean? Think about how many times you come up with what could be a good idea. You share it with someone, whether it be a family member or a friend, and they tell you that'll never work. They just killed your dream. They just destroyed your goal. You are in charge of your own mind, and it is what you do that will make you successful, not what that naysayer says you can't do. So make sure you do not allow negative outside interference. In week three, we talked about making sure you come up with something different for your business. You need to be inventive. What does that mean? Well, in week three's video, we talked about two people who were inventive and changed the business world because of it. The first one was Henry Ford, we talked about. Now, he had a lot of people who were negative, and when he was talking about making these horseless carriages that we call automobiles now, they said, oh, what are they going to do? Pave a road up to every house? Well, you tell me, what did they do? He didn't allow that negative influence to stop him. The other thing that Henry Ford did, he changed the way production was done with his conveyor belt in Detroit, where they automated production. And so it is a model that's still used today. The second person that we talked about in week three was John Wanamaker. Now, it's hard for us to understand the way things used to be. There was a time when you went into a retail establishment and you wanted to buy something, you would take the item up and then you would argue about what it was worth or what it would cost you. Wanamaker was a retailer in the Philadelphia area, and he ended up having one of the biggest retail establishments and empires in the world at that time. And he came up with the idea of a price tag. We take that for granted, but it wasn't always there. That was his idea. Do you think some people said that would never work? Absolutely. He had negative influences too, but he didn't let him stop them. The other thing he did that was different than the other people of the time, he advertised heavily. He even would take out full page ads in the newspaper for his different retail establishments. So these two people were inventive and they changed their business model so that they could dominate. And they did. In week four, we challenged you, which was last week, to emulate success. In other words, the successful person does certain things. And we had a list, and I put a T table up here, and we had pros and cons. Well, one of the pros of the successful person, they were positive and had a positive outlook, and their glass was always half full. And then the unsuccessful person, they had a negative outlook, and their glass was always half empty. So now we're to week five. That is this current week. So what do we add to it? We add just one simple word: struggle. Now, struggle can be something that ends up being good and positive, or it could be something that ends up being bad and negative. So, what do I mean by that? Well, it could propel you to success. It could also doom you to failure. It all depends on your attitude. So, just a little personal story here. I was a middle school and high school math teacher for 24 years. During that time, I would often have students struggle to come up with a strategy to solve a problem. When I was in my graduate teaching classes, my math professors called this productive struggle. And it's one of the best ways for a student to have a deeper understanding of how to solve the problem. Once they finally figured it out, they truly understood the mathematics behind it. This is no different in your striving to be successful in achieving your goals. It all depends on your attitude and how you approach the problem. So, Napoleon Hill talks about how struggle can lead to success or failure. It just depends on your attitude and approach to the struggling. And then he gives an example. A lot of his books are just little stories, little anecdotes talking about people that have been successful. One thing he did, he went out and he interviewed successful people. And he said, for you to be successful, you need to do what the successful person does. So the successful person embraces struggle. Here's one of his little stories. He's talking about what tree will be the strongest. Will it be the tree that's in the middle of the forest and is surrounded by a bunch of trees that will keep all of the winds from the storms from making that tree bow in the wind? Or would it be the tree that's out in the middle of the field by itself, that in every storm it's bending over? And then as the wind gusts in the other direction, it goes in the other direction. It's pretty obvious which one's going to be the strongest one, the one that overcome the struggle of the storm. The human spirit becomes stronger after you struggle with something. The struggle itself becomes the opportunity. Absolutely nothing in life that's worthwhile can be achieved without a struggle. You need to meet this adversity head on and overcome the struggle, and that will lead to you successfully completing your goals. A successful person is one who simply welcomes the struggle and then overcomes it. Napoleon Hill ended week 5 with a quote that I want to share with you. Quote, by running to embrace struggle rather than trying to avoid it, you too can use it to help you learn, grow, and succeed, unquote. So make sure by the end of the day, you follow these 5 things. Make sure you determine your goal, write it down. Make sure you commit it to your memory and come up with a plan to achieve it. Don't allow any negative outside interference. Be inventive and innovative and do something special in your line of work. Make sure you emulate success by doing the things and being positive. You can go back and I'll have a link to week 4. And then the new one, make sure you embrace the struggle and use it to advance your goals. So start planting the seeds for your success today. We'll continue next week with week 6. Until then, subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on TikTok for more helpful videos. In the YouTube video, there will be a link to week 4 down in the left corner and in the right corner to my playlist. Thank you, and we'll see you next week.